All right, let's dive right into this explainer and tackle what has to be one of the boldest, almost unbelievable claims out there: completing a job search in just 2 hours. Now, if you're anything like me, the absolute second you hear a promise like that, your defenses immediately go up. I mean, we're all so used to the job hunt being this agonizing months long marathon, right? It usually involves spending countless evenings just endlessly tweaking your resume, agonizing over the perfect cover letter, and then sending applications into this absolute digital void, just crossing your fingers and hoping for a bite. So the idea that you can distill that massive, soul-crushing undertaking into a mere 120 minutes, it sounds like pure fantasy. But today we're going to unpack exactly how a highly specific framework manages to do just that. We're going to break down how it works, why it works so incredibly well, and how it can completely transform the way you approach your entire career trajectory. I want to acknowledge the skepticism right out of the gate here. We genuinely have to ask, is finding a great job in 2 hours just a slick marketing gimmick, or is it actual reality? Because it is way too easy to lump this get results fast promise in with those heavy-hitting, marketing-driven titles you've probably seen staring at you from airport bookstore shelves. You know, titles like Tim Ferriss's The 4-Hour Workweek. At first glance, a promise like the 2-hour job search sounds completely nebulous. It feels like one of those exhausting self-help concepts that attempts to take a highly complex, painful process and reduce it down to a catchy, oversimplified phrase just to sell copies, without actually delivering the goods. Honestly, it sounds too good to be true. But as we dig into the methodology today, we're going to discover exactly why this specific framework actually breaks the mold and totally delivers on that audacious promise. To really understand why this isn't just some gimmick, we need to look at the architect behind it, Steve Dalton. His credentials run deep. He's a senior career consultant and the associate director of Duke University's Fuqua School of Business. And that context is absolutely crucial because it proves this approach isn't just some theoretical pie-in-the-sky idea cooked up in a vacuum. It is a highly tactical, data-backed methodology cultivated from real-world placements. Dalton developed this advice after watching literally hundreds of brilliant MBA students bang their heads against the wall, dropping their resumes into online portals, and getting absolutely zero response. He saw the pure frustration of the resume black hole firsthand, and he engineered this framework to bypass it entirely. He knows exactly what he's talking about because he's watched this exact system succeed on the ground level, time and time again. Okay, let's clear something up right now because we really need to separate the myth from the reality regarding that 2-hour timeline. Understanding this distinction is key to the whole system. The myth is that you can just wake up, start from absolute zero, and boom, have a great job offer 2 hours later. That is obviously not true. The reality of the framework is that you absolutely do have to invest time upfront to build your engine. You have to learn the methodology and execute a highly tactical, action-oriented setup, which involves building a targeted tracking spreadsheet and finding the right contacts. That initial foundational phase, yeah, that will take more than 2 hours. But, and this is the absolute magic of the system, once you've built that engine and put the systems in place, any subsequent job search you conduct genuinely takes about 2 hours of active work to spin up. You build the machine once so you can just seamlessly turn the key later. To truly appreciate where this framework fits in, think of your overall career journey as a sort of three-part arc. Step one is self-awareness and knowledge. This is doing the internal, often philosophical work to figure out what opportunities will actually bring you joy, utilize your skills, and offer real fulfillment. Now, skip to step three, way at the end, interviewing and closure. This involves confidently communicating your strengths and ultimately converting an interview into a solid job offer. But sitting right there in the middle is step two, sourcing the interview. You know what you want, but how do you actually go out and get it? This middle step is notoriously the hardest part for most professionals. It's the bottleneck. You know what you want to do, but how do you get your foot in the door without relying on sheer luck? Well, Dalton's framework is designed specifically to be that vital missing middle piece. Now, what's really fascinating here is how clearly we can separate the internal work of career preparation from the strictly tactical step of getting your foot in the door. The problem is that a lot of traditional career coaching services focus almost exclusively on those outer steps. They spend weeks helping you cultivate a deep sense of self-awareness, or they run endless mock interviews to help you nail tricky behavioral questions. And look, that's all incredibly valuable, but it leaves a gaping hole. Dalton's singular focus is filling that middle step. His approach is strictly about the tactical, step-by-step process of practically sourcing opportunities so you can actually get the interview in the first place. He completely demystifies the incredibly frustrating gap between deciding what you want to do with your life and actually sitting down in the interview chair to make it happen. It bridges the gap between desire and opportunity.
So, how exactly does he pull this off? Well, one of the foundational concepts of the framework is actively targeting low hanging fruit. Basically, this means you stop treating every company equally and start prioritizing organizations where you naturally have an in. This could be a company where you already know a former coworker, or maybe where you share a powerful commonality like an active alumni network. Instead of blasting your resume into an online portal alongside thousands of complete strangers, which, let's be honest, is a high effort, incredibly low reward strategy, you leverage these mutual connections to cultivate direct opportunities. It is the absolute fastest, most efficient way to bypass the digital resume pile. By targeting low hanging fruit, your entire goal is to get your application directly into the hands of a real human being who can actually advocate for you.
Once you've identified that low-hanging fruit, the next crucial hurdle is knowing how to reach out to them without sounding desperate or overly transactional. And this brings us to a really crucial number, 5. It's the 5-point email template. This isn't just a casual message. It is a highly structured, scientifically tweaked communication tool. It's actually so highly effective for outreach that career coaches universally borrow and expand upon it. The rules are super strict. It must be under 100 words so it respects the reader's time. You absolutely do not ask for a job. Instead, you ask for insights and advice about their experience. Finally, the specific goal is just to secure a brief, low-pressure 20-minute informational chat. By keeping the ask small and focusing on human connection rather than a transaction, it yields dramatically higher response rates than your standard run-of-the-mill networking emails. Let's look at how this all builds into a highly practical, cohesive system for execution. Dalton's framework gives you exact step-by-step tools to systematize your company research, so you aren't just aimlessly doom-scrolling job boards at 2 in the morning. For instance, he utilizes a specific tool called the LAMP list, which stands for List, Alumni, Motivation, and Posting. This framework allows you to rank target companies systematically based on where you actually have the highest probability of success. It helps you target specific, actionable opportunities based on solid logic rather than just emotion. Ultimately, the entire goal of this system is to entirely demystify the path to the interview. It takes a process that usually feels overwhelming, chaotic, and heavily reliant on luck, and turns it into a practical, easy-to-implement checklist. And you might be wondering, why do I even need a system this specific? Well, consider this extremely powerful concept directly from the source material. You're pretty much always going to have to be trading up. You're not just going to get a job and sit there and fester. I mean, wow, if you are an ambitious professional, your career is absolutely not going to be a static, one-and-done event. You don't just land one good role, clock out, and stagnate for the next 40 years. You are constantly going to be seeking the next best opportunity to stretch your skills and trade up. And because you're going to be doing this repeatedly throughout your life, having a systematized 2-hour framework in your back pocket isn't just a neat party trick, it becomes an absolute career superpower. If you need some hard proof of exactly how often you'll be trading up, the data points to a staggering number, 3. Studies highlighted in the source show that most MBAs change jobs 3 times in just their first 10 years out of business school. Think about that for a second. 3 major career transitions in a single decade. Now think about the pure exhaustion of doing a traditional, months-long, highly stressful job search 3 separate times in 10 years. It is completely unsustainable. And that is exactly why Dalton wrote this book. You need a fast, reliable, repeatable method to navigate a modern career landscape that is defined by constant movement and disruption, rather than lifelong loyalty to a single corporation. Which brings us to the ultimate return on investment here. Because mastering this framework is about so much more than just escaping your current job or surviving an immediate hunt. It's a fundamental psychological shift. When you know, deep down, that you can spin up a highly effective, targeted job search in just 2 hours, it entirely eliminates that nagging, everyday fear of being laid off. It removes the anxiety of looking for better opportunities because the barrier to entry is suddenly incredibly low. It builds unshakable confidence and ensures your long-term career mobility. You'll literally never sit in fear of losing your position or feeling trapped by a bad boss again, because you know exactly how to go out and get a new role with total ease and precision. We have covered a lot of ground today, discovering how a tactical, structured approach can turn a grueling, months-long ordeal into a highly efficient engine for lifelong career growth. So I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. If your next job search truly only took 2 hours of active time to set in motion, what incredible career leap would you have the confidence to make today? When the fear and exhaustion of the search are completely removed from the equation, the possibilities for your career become truly limitless.
Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I really hope mastering these tools empowers you to go out there and take that next big leap.